Hi guys, and welcome back. Today I'm going to do a video on updating some of the reviews that I've done in the past, telling you my experiences with the stuff that I've reviewed and now used for a few weeks or a few months or even longer for some parts. Some of this stuff I haven't actually released the preview or the review video of, but I'll just tell you my comments on what I think about the product after I have used it for a few weeks. So the first thing that I want to update my opinion on, or tell you what I've found out, is this frame. This is the iflight Strider version 2. It's a stretched X frame that I did a review on about a month ago. And so now I've built it up using quite light components. I got it to weigh, without the camera and the battery, around about 310 grams. So about 115 grams or a few grams more of that is the frame. The frame could actually weigh about 30 grams less if it was made with a tiny bit narrower and thinner arms. Possibly if it was a unibody, it would be a lot better, a lot lighter especially. And yeah, the weight is the biggest issue, or the second biggest issue for this frame. Otherwise it flies really good after you build it, and if you can manage the weight, it flies beautifully. I had some rcINpower motors on these and I ran it on 5S, and it was just a rocket ship. Insane power, flies really nice. The geometry of the frame is beautiful. It feels so locked in because of the stretch X feel, and I even had the reversed motor rotation on it, which in Kabab FPV's theory will help out with the rear motors when you're doing yaw turns. What next? Yeah, the biggest flaw with this frame is this part here. Like I said in my review, the back part here, that's the weak point, and I already cracked it. I managed to break the top frame without having even the camera on it, or basically any weight on it. So just some random crash, I don't even know which crash it was, cracked the top plate, or actually just delaminated it. So now it just bends. It's not completely broken, but it bends. I tried epoxying it, helped a little, but still there's a really definite weak point here. I hope iflight will fix that, and actually iflight commented my review video of the frame, saying that they have a lighter version of this that they are working on, that they probably or possibly will release later on. So I'm hoping for the version 3, the light version with the top plate fixed. There is no need to cut a groove in here. You can just leave it straight like that. That way you'll have more carbon fiber here to strengthen the connection to the standoff, and yeah, making the top plate a lot stronger. So I hope iflight, if you see this, hope when you see this, fix that part there and make it lighter, and you're golden. Otherwise the frame just looks beautiful. I think it's a really good looking frame. One more thing that the frame could use is the camera holder, or the two carbon fiber plates that hold the camera. A second screw spot there, or groove, that you could have the camera fix on to. If you have this kind of camera body that has the 2 screw spots, if you make a groove in here, a cut for the second screw, you can sturdily fix the camera to the frame, making sure if you bump on the ground or bump into something, the camera is not going to change its angle. This kind of setup, it only holds on with 1 screw, and that way if you bump into something or if you crash or whatever, the camera angle can move. Or if you don't have the bolts tight enough, without even crashing into anything, the camera will move. Okay, moving on to the next thing. I have here as well. It's the Maytech 405 all-in-one flight controller. This is the one with the PDV as well. Really nice flight controller. The OSD is just amazing. I ran it with some really noisy ESCs, and on 4S I had no problems. On 5S I had problems. I got the yaw spin of death. But when I switched to a better ESC or less noisy ESC, all problems are gone. So yeah, a really big thumbs up for Maytech for the 405 all-in-one. Next, the eachine T800T camera that I reviewed a while back. It's 16:9 CCD sensor FPV camera with a OSD joystick. And actually, this is a nice coincidence. Have a look at this. The Strider V2 has a little cutout right here underneath the camera. So I can actually reach the joystick right here without having to touch any parts. Or I don't have to remove the camera, remove any plate, or remove anything. You can just reach the OSD stick right here. So, and actually, this camera and this frame is a really good combo. Well, if you just could fasten it well enough. But minor things. The camera itself is great in my opinion. Because it's a CCD, you won't have any issues with vibrations. You won't get any jello in your picture if you have a frame that vibrates. The colors, the default settings are horrible, but after testing different settings for a while, and since you can reach the joystick like this, it's quite easy to figure out the new settings. I was able to figure out really nice settings for this camera. I think I like it more than the Foxtail Monster, but I actually probably like it more than the HS1177, which is sort of the golden standard. But yeah, that's a nice camera, especially for the price. But there is one thing you're gonna be careful of. It's the wires, the wire loom that comes with the camera. It's not the standard order, and it's the same thing with VTXs, which is a nice segue to the next item that I'm gonna talk about. Just make sure that you have power to power, ground to ground, and signal to signal. It's not always the case with these VTXs and cameras. They don't use the normal servo order of having ground, power, and signal. Sometimes it's power, ground, signal, which if you connect that, you will burn your camera. So careful. Yeah, next thing, VTX. A while back I did a review on the eachine 801 VTX, and I said it's probably the best eachine VTX, or probably the best VTX that I've used. And yeah, still think that it is a really good VTX. You have plenty of power. 600 milliwatts is more than you need, but the option of having 400, for example, that's what I like to use, is really nice. That you can go down to 0.01, I think, which is like pit mode. That's nice. 25, obviously, that's really good for racing. 200 if you're flying with a buddy, or even 400. But yeah, okay, the powers are great, and the ton of channels is great as well. The buttons or the button and the display is nice, but still the best thing about it is the wire loom. A really small thing, but it makes a ton of difference, since, at least me, I crash a lot. I try to learn by crashing, so I'm constantly taking off components from frames, and when you're able to remove the connector without having to pull on the wires themselves, you can just press the little tab there and pull it off gently from the connector itself and not stretch the wires at all. That's just amazing. And the wires are silicone, so they are really bendy and they don't wear out when you twist them around. So really good VTX. And eachine has gone back to the RPSMA connectors on that one, so that's a good thing. What next? Yeah, okay, here's something new that I haven't released a review on yet. I think I have it done, but I just haven't released it. The rcINpower 3306 motors. These are on in sale in my RC Mart, which is the place that I buy pretty much all my motors from. These were about, I think, 19 bucks or something like that during the time of release, but the price right now is a bit higher, and I understand why. The amount of power from these is just insane. This is the GTS 2306 2400 kV. I like the 2400 kV. 25 would be ideal, but 24 is closest. I use 5S as well, so a tiny bit lower kV is okay. These have a hollow shaft all the way until the bottom. Really nice feature. Strong shaft. Haven't been able to bend that. Doesn't have wires. It has these soldering tabs, kind of like the DYS SE2205 Pros. I think those were the first ones that had these soldering tabs. At first I was kind of like suspicious about them, but they seem to work really nicely. Swapping them out from frame to frame is easy, because you just desolder the wires from the motors and move them around. And then if you have separate ESCs, you'll have the wires on the ESCs. If you have all-in-one like I have here, then yeah, you can just cut out the right length wires and add those. So yeah, that's really cool. I like the motors, really strong, power-wise, thrust-wise, but there is a tiny, in my opinion, and it's the material the base is made out of. The threads are not super strong. They are strong, but the power in the motors is insane, and I was able to rip one of the motors off. Granted, I was using the Strider frame, and I only had 2 bolts, and I'm not sure if the bolts were as long as they could have been, but yeah, I thought they were fastened well enough, but in a crash, one of the motors came loose, and one of the motor holes, or the threads, came off. So I think that the bottom probably could have been, it's probably not 7075 aluminum, which is to my knowledge, is the strongest aluminum, but still, it's a really good motor, especially for this price. I'm not sure if you can get a stronger motor. Yeah, the thing that I have the motors going to right now, this is a special frame. I got it from Kabab FPV. I think it's his prototype frame. I haven't seen this released. It's not the floss, it's an acro frame. I think it's a True X with a top mount battery and a really clever design for having 6 standoffs but having support in the middle, which I haven't seen in other frames. Obviously, because if you put a standoff right in the middle, you'll have issues with your flight controller not being able to reach it, and your ESCs probably not being able to reach those as well. How he tackled that issue is by moving the stack a tiny bit back, and he had a really clever design of how to fasten these arms and then have the stack be mounted to the rear arms. Really cool thing. I hope this comes into production and it doesn't just give it up or anything like that. Yeah, cool frame. Haven't built it yet. Looks amazing. It's light as hell. Yeah, really excited about this one. Then one more thing that I haven't reviewed. Yeah, haven't reviewed. This is the eachine 35 amp 4-in-1 anniversary edition ESC. 4 ESCs, 35 amp burst, constant 40 amp burst, BL Heli S ESC. It has a BB2 chip on it, so that's faster. You can do D-Shot 600 on it. It just has a single wire loom coming out from the side. I should have it somewhere here. Yeah, here. Silicon wires, that's really good. You get a ton of standoffs and an XT60 connector, so that's cool. Slight drawback, not for me, but for some users for sure. It doesn't have a BEC. It just outputs the raw voltage of your battery. So if you have a flight controller or a VTX or something like that that requires filtered or step down power, you can't do it with this one. You can obviously add a BEC or something in between, but yeah, this just puts out raw voltage and the current from the battery. I received a faulty one that the current sensor wasn't working on at all. No matter what settings you put in Betaflight, the current would just read so much off that you couldn't use it. But I contacted Banggood and they just sent me a new one straight away. So yeah, thanks Banggood, really good customer service. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I gotta go back to the Strider because I really like this frame. I like the geometry, I like the looks, and for some reason I'm fond of it. And in the original video I was talking a lot about how you could improve it, but I edited that out. Here is the Sky Zone, I think it's called the TX800T. And this has something that I originally said that would have something that worked. This is a bolt pattern that iflight could use if they want to go with the separate arms thing. And this has a cool design where you have two bolts holding each arm. All the arms interlock in the center, so they can't twist in any way. And the frame is quite damn rigid actually. It has those countersinking screws on the top on both of the bolts, and the center bolt is the same bolt that you use for your flight controller stack. So you have zero unnecessary cuts in this middle part. You don't have a third bolt, you don't need it. Yeah, and then the flight controller stack part, that's not just held in place by a nylon standoff or one of those vibration isolating standoffs. You have the countersinking screw there. If you screw that in tightly, then yeah, it's locked. It's like this. It's not gonna bend at all. It's not gonna move because of the bolts. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you stick to this long, thank you so much for watching. Yeah. Thanks, happy flying. See you in the next video. Bye.